You're listening to the Why I Love Disney podcast. In this episode, we talk about how the national social distancing campaign is affecting all aspects of life as we know it, and how this makes us thankful for the smaller things, like Disney Plus. Are you ready? Let's go. What if you go going these what if scenarios that seemed like impossible? You never entertain these things. You know, I would never entertain these things a year ago or a month ago, that you start thinking to yourself, well, what if, you know, and you start thinking about your family. And have you found yourself kind of going down those roads a little bit, or for the most part, have you been pretty?
Well, I did it until now.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. now I'm kind of wondering, oh no.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast. I'm Dustin.
I'm David.
I'm Ramin.
Ramin is back from the first game. Dude, welcome back to the podcast. So excited to have you here. It has been another crazy week. It seems like every week seems like a month right now. Does it to you?
This especially feels like a month. Yes.
It's creeping by.
Yeah, very much so.
We're in unprecedented times in our world and our nation. Things are on lockdown as we speak where we're at. Tonight at 8 p.m., all non-essential retail businesses are ordered by the governor of Kentucky to close. Different states are doing these and things in different ways. Things are just kind of crazy right now. Everybody's quarantining themselves. Everybody's practicing social distancing. We're here good ways away from each other. So how are you guys hanging in? Let's start with that. David, how's things back home?
We're doing good. I work a lot from home, so I'm used to working from home. So that has not been a challenge. I think the where it feels like a month to me is it feels like a month of information. Just constantly changing information. It feels like a month of information has happened in a week.
Sure.
And
like hour to hour, it seems like there's just something, another big news thing to digest and figure out what's going on. It's nuts.
Yes.
Right now. But everybody, your family well?
Our family's well, but we have known, we have known people now that are in the hospital that are sick, and it's very scary.
You're in the Nashville area, right? Yes. Yeah. That's, I think a lot of people this week, especially if you didn't know anybody that had it, probably this is the week you're probably going to know someone. And, still thoughts and prayers. Ramin, how are you doing, man?
Doing okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely been an adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to like to stay pretty busy. And so having to be home and trying to find things to do, it's been a little bit of a shift, but, going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be okay. Thoughts and prayers, everybody. And again, stay safe out there. Practice social distancing. Do what they tell you to do. Because I do believe that everybody has the same goal, is that we get all through this as quickly as possible. Nobody wants everything to shut down. Nobody wants to be inside of their house. We're doing this to look out for other people and for the public health and for the public good. And I think to keep that in mind is a big deal. And thankfully you can imagine if this had taken place maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, how different it would have been.
Oh, completely different.
Just the technology we have now and the ways that we're able to consume media, be on the internet,
and to communicate with each other. Yeah.
Not just phones, but FaceTime. I mean, it's easy to complain. And again, it's a terrible thing, and this is not fun for anybody, right? We hope it's over quickly. But I mean, let's take a moment and be thankful for what we do have. And again, and acknowledging there are people that don't have access to all these things too in different places in the world. And even here where we live, we try to acknowledge that too. But man, it is a different time and a place where Wi-Fi exist, and we are able to watch Disney Plus, for instance, and Netflix and stream movies and our kids are able to continue to get schooled at home. That's a really remarkable thing, and we're thankful for all the people who make that happen, all the innovators and inventors and educators and people who have worked tirelessly to kind of keep things rolling just in a more more confined environment. So what's been the craziest thing to you through all this, Ramin?
For me, well, this is all coinciding with my move from San Diego back to the Kansas City area. Okay. And so getting used to life back in the Midwest, but then under, social distancing guidelines for me, I was getting out on hitting the beaches often. I was surfing regularly. I'm being really active, which was really, really enjoyable and great. Kansas, there was already, no ocean there. So I really slowed down quite a bit from what I was. That's been a huge adjustment.
You're also a big coffee guy too.
Huge coffee guy.
As soon as they take away your coffee shop, visits, that's going to be.
I have to build up my home.
Are they allowed to stay open to go? Like, can you drive through these places?
The ones that I've been through, there are drive-throughs, and some of the ones that are located in like downtown, they're doing like curbside.
Okay.
Type stuff.
So kind of like restaurants are following the same guidelines as restaurants.
Yeah, you can still place an order and they'll bring it out to you. And
well, good. That's still David. What's been the craziest thing about this for you so far?
I think the craziest thing for me was since all this started, I've really only gone 2 places. I had to go to the grocery store twice.
Yeah,
and I think both times going to the grocery store, that was the craziest thing I have experienced. Just every canned good gone, every cleaning product. I mean, just the store's just crazy empty. Like, I really was a shock.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was probably the biggest shock though was one time when I went to the grocery store, it was just grocery store only. One was more of a large store, this department store and grocery store together. And how many people were still out shopping that you could tell were not doing essentials. They were just browsing. They were just getting out of the house. And that was kind of crazy to me, especially in the light that in our community, in the community I live now, it's spreading fast. And I don't know why anybody would go out that didn't absolutely have to go out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I still think there's a big thing of people just don't, nobody's experienced anything quite like this.
Right.
And nobody really quite understands, even we don't really quite understand how serious this is. All we have to go on is what they tell us.
Well, I think it probably, when I knew of 2 or 3 people that I know, I mean, these are not people that I've seen recently, but these are people that I know and that are in the hospital. That kind of changes your perspective. Suddenly it's foremost in my mind. I can't, when I go out, I can't help but think about it. So,
yeah, I'm the same as you.
I really want to stay in.
Other than like a drive-through or a curbside pickup or 2, the only place I've actually been to is the grocery store also. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of interesting that, it's weird to see like all the meat gone, all the toilet paper gone, all the eggs gone.
Mm-hmm. Any flu or cold medicine.
Hand
sanitizers, rubbing alcohol, all that stuff.
It's interesting. And it kind of like I have mixed feelings, like, because when you see that, you start to feel this, I better get some, I need to get some of this stuff too. Cause what if you just all this, like, it creates this sort of thing when even logically, wait a second, there's going to be plenty for everybody.
Right.
There's no need to hoard this stuff. There's a part of it though that just creates this scarcity. Like, if it's not available, all of a sudden you feel like you have to have it.
And I think there's a sense that you wonder, well, what if I got sick?
Yeah.
And I can't go back out. So I need to have at least enough for 2 or 3 weeks in case I get quarantined for sure. But obviously some people are buying more than 2 or 3 weeks worth. They're buying 2 and 3 months worth of supplies. And when I was at the grocery store last, that's what, the checkout clerk was telling me. It's all panic. People see one person get this, they think, well, I better get that too. They were seeing it even watching people come through the line. She said, we can tell it's just panic shopping. And when the bread's all disappearing, it makes you go, maybe I should get one more loaf of bread. So, yeah.
Have you caught yourself at all thinking down the lines of, what if it gets worse? Like, what would I do? Like, in the sense of like, maybe I watch too many movies that have to do with like, post-apocalyptic kind of, those sort of things. But like, what would happen? What happens at 30% unemployment or 50% unemployment? What happens if this goes on for 3 months and people don't have money? What happens if the supply chain does break down at some point and the way they get, things from the farm to the grocery store, somewhere in those supply chains, what if that breaks down because people are sick or for whatever reason? And all of a sudden there's a scarcity situation. Do you find yourself thinking about that at all or considering that? Or you try to like, no, everything's going to be, I'm an optimistic person. Like I do generally think everything's going to be okay. And I found myself for the first time there's in one particular instance I don't want to talk about here on this, but that what if you go going these what if scenarios that seemed like impossible? You never entertain these things. I would never entertain these things a year ago or a month ago, that you start thinking to yourself, well, what if, and you start thinking about your family. And have you found yourself kind of going down those roads a little bit, or for the most part, have you been pretty?
Well, I did it until now.
Yeah. Thanks, Dustin. now I'm kind of wondering, oh no.
No, I think a lot of people are having those kind of thoughts. I just saw an article or headline somewhere. I was talking about the increase in people buying firearms, handguns in particular. People are really, I think, beginning this idea like of fortifying and self-preservation, and just in case, they're going to try to set themselves up for the best, situation possible. I personally, hadn't really thought that darkly, I guess, that wasn't that worried about it. We
were on the Why I Love Disney podcast talking about getting as much ammo stocking up ammo as you can, ammo and meat and toilet paper. Yeah. And you gotta get all that for your family in your compound.
Crazy. It's been crazy, like nothing else we've ever seen. Never could have imagined this.
Are you pretty hopeful though that we're on the right track and we're on the path to getting this thing solved? And
well, I'll tell you, here's maybe kind of some silver lining into all this. I think this is causing people to slow down in a big way, right? Their schedules are freeing up a little bit. They're spending a lot of time with family, and things that are still okay to do, like going to the parks, going for walks. People are, I think, in a lot of ways getting
not Disney parks, regular old parks with trees and stuff.
With trees and outdoors and lots of space. They're getting back in touch with these things, which I think brings a lot of sense of peace and calm, and so a lot of good things amidst all the bad things as well. So hopefully it doesn't escalate into some kind of
I'm with you, and I think anecdotally, you talk to people and you hear stories, and I think I'm picking up on that sentiment, and we're still early in this too. What is it? We've been kind of out of school now we're going on week 2, I think, officially. We're in the second week, or is it the third week? I don't know. It's
third, I think.
Feels like a year ago when all this happened, but we're still relatively early in this process that, I think there's still people are just starting to wrestle with some of these things. Yeah. Whereas for some people, it's been business as usual. Still, as you go to the next round of things closing, more and more people are now changing their lifestyles dramatically because of this. I mean, church, we're involved in churches here in different capacities, and the idea that you can't meet together on Sunday morning and you have to find alternative means to connect in that way is drastically changed. Is it a great example of something that's been a staple in American life for decades, generations, since the foundation, and to have that suddenly, all shifted and changed. It's a big deal. And I agree with you. I think people are starting to kind of take account of, okay, what are the most important things? What are the things I can do without? You're having those conversations. Even my wife and I, we look at our, things we spend money on. And this may be like a microcosm of an example of what we're talking about, but sort of like, okay, what do we need and what do we not need? You go through your cabinets and look at the food you have and stuff that's been in there for years in the back of it that you never even knew you had. You know what I'm saying? I think we could last for a while, just on what's in there already. And to realize that we're so blessed in general. And this isn't the first time in the world, in world history, something like this has happened. But we're probably, you hear we're not well equipped for this and where things are falling apart. And maybe I get it in the context of when we live, but in the big context, if you look at the big picture, man, we are very well equipped, much better equipped to deal with this than at probably any other time and any other people in the history of the world, through technology, through just the way we can mass communicate to people. Can you imagine? The Spanish flu in like the 1910s, right? How would you get word out to everyone to do something like that? We know hour by hour on Twitter. We have, our governor, our mayor, our president, congressional leaders that are on the video screen immediately telling us what to do and how to do it. And that's immediate access to information. Whereas, if you lived in the town I live in 1918, you'd have to have I don't know. And is there new? I wouldn't even know how long it would take you to find out this is a deal and what to do. And so just the little things like that you take for granted, the access to food, the access to just the huge supply chains of how we can have canned goods and fresh good and just milk and how readily supply there is available. We take these things for granted day to day. And I think these are a good time to, like you said, take a step back and say, hey, I'm
kind
thankful.
of reevaluate your priorities a little bit. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And say thanks to people we might take for granted too, like our healthcare workers, our law enforcement, our fire emergency workers that are on the front lines of kind of all this stuff too. And
I think the human spirit's strong if you let it be. I mean, if you look at Italy right now, they're a little bit further ahead of us. They're being devastated right now by this virus, but people are taking to their balconies and literally singing in community together. To try to celebrate what's good and maintain some sense of humanity and things like that.
Yeah, as for every toilet paper hoarder, there's 10 people that are looking out for people that you see that are checking on each other and offering to, run to the grocery store for elderly people or just looking out for one another. And I think I've seen more of the best of people than the worst. Yeah. The headlines in the news are the worst usually, but I'm with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of your response is going to be kind of where you're looking for your information. I heard recently, and I can't remember where exactly, somebody said they found a lot of hope when they look towards or for the helpers in a situation. If you're looking for people who are helping, it can really bring in a lot of sense of hope.
Absolutely.
Helpers.
That's a good Mr. Rogers quote.
Is that even where I don't know where it comes from?
I think Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers.
Look for the helpers. Good stuff. So, why I love Disney, there's some Disney news that we've had. Thankfully, one of the things we have is Disney Plus. We can stream tons of things, but there's tons of news coming out. Parks are still closed. Resorts are now closed. Hotels are closing. Restaurants, Disney Springs, everything kind of halting. I feel in general, Disney's been leading in this from Shanghai. We talked about that in the last episode a little bit. Last week, after we got done, we started seeing pictures of the last weekend Disneyland was open. And you saw just these, when you announced we're closing this day,
it had people run
the unintended effect of, well, we better get there before they close. Yeah. In hindsight, do you think Disney regrets that decision, that they didn't just close it?
I don't know. I haven't seen a statement. I know that I saw where Abigail Disney had been on Twitter and put her comments. So she was of that last night. It's pretty strong coming from one of the family members who was, you could tell she was surprised that they had that kind of crowd out at Disneyland at the end there. So I think looking back, I kind of wish that they had, not had those last big gatherings. I wish they'd kind of made it swift.
Because the video you saw was just people, shoulder to shoulder on Main Street watching fireworks and even Disney employees. There was no social distancing going on. It was almost like Fat Tuesday before get your last bit of fun in before it all gets shut down. And to be perfectly honest, like you watch that and it's like, man, this kind of seems a little irresponsible, especially when you're making the decision to shut everything down. Why and how? And again, it's easy to be critical after the fact. Everybody can do that. And again, I try to also be generous because they've done so well in their decisions up to this point. But I do think that that's probably something looking back. They probably wish they'd have handled a little bit differently, but it's closed now. They're closed. Nobody's in the parks as far as we know.
I said that wrong because it was Abigail. She was actually making a comment about Disney World, not Disneyland. And I won't repeat exactly what she said, but it was basically, "Are you kidding me?" But it had some more words in it than that. in response to photos seemingly showing huge crowds at Disney World's Magic Kingdom on Sunday night, which was one of the last nights. So I think, but again, 2 and 3 weeks ago, a lot of things weren't as clear as they are now to a lot of people.
Sure. Now, I think they've now canceled all construction projects are now on hold.
Yeah, I saw that. Because everybody wondered if even like it was 200 people gatherings. It was like 50 people in a gathering, and quickly it was down to 10. I guess when they moved it to 10, construction stopped.
So as far as all construction has stopped on all projects right now?
I've just seen that. It was what I've seen on some different websites, but I haven't seen Disney put anything out. I've just seen different vlogs and blogs talk about it.
From what you've read, assuming that's true, and I would imagine it is, how does that affect the opening of some of the new attractions that everybody's been so excited about?
Well, one of the things I read said that some of the ones that were farther along would within reasonable time frame wouldn't take forever. They would continue to. But the big question will be future projects, things that they've announced but they've not started. With the economic situation, how long will it take for things like that to get back underway? Because it's going to take a while to get back on their feet. And
so the things that are almost done, like the Ratatouille ride, and Frozen,
the Space 220, some of those things are farther along. That
they'll finish up.
That's what it said. The article said it wouldn't take much longer once they open back up.
But things on the horizon that are kind of like on the planning stage, now we're looking at a situation as a company where they're just they've taken such a hit.
I would think that anything, if it was meant to open up in June or July, it's probably going to be, even if the parks do open by then, it's kind of push everything back. I would expect 3 or 4 months. I would think.
But do you expect things to be axed completely that haven't been started or were just started?
I'll be surprised if something doesn't get put on, we'll hope to get back to that one day, but I would think financially this is going to be, I saw somewhere that just how much money, they're losing a day was just in just one day. And then you just think of for every day that it's a scary.
There's the obvious thing about the parks. I mean, there's no one in the parks. That's not just tickets. That's concessions. That's food. That's hotels. It's all gone. It's all, and that's I think a third of their revenue comes from parks, right?
Yes.
And then another third is from
and then the movies. Movie theaters closed. So even Onward was such a huge hit to that movie.
Well, that's another impact as we talk about Onward is I think we see this across the board in entertainment, on the entertainment side of things is, I was reading how Onward was the most disappointing Pixar open, and not just opening, but it's going to stop its theatrical run now because they've taken it off. They've now allowed it to sell the DVD and on demand, I think for $20 for 3 weeks. And then it's coming straight to Disney Plus, which is the fastest anything has ever dropped like that, which is the world we live in. Unfortunately for Onward, it was released the weekend that this sort of all started.
Exactly.
Even ticket sales in general, it's the first weekend you saw a year-over-year dramatic decline directly due to health concerns. So it opened into that weekend. If Disney learned anything from that, so I think it was in the theaters 2 weeks before theaters were canceled.
Right.
So it's now ended its theatrical run at about $70 million worldwide, and they're shifting gears midstream to say, okay, we're going to have a 3-week window where you can buy this and watch it at home on demand. And then it's going to Disney Plus. And that's an interesting, I think that's great news for those of us who have Disney Plus and want to see that movie quicker and to get it in the hands of more people. But
and for everybody that didn't have a chance to go see it, at least you're not going to have to wait.
I wonder, you think we'll see more things like this, more of the theatrical releases if this goes on along? Do you think they're going to hold them and wait?
Well, or do you think they pushed back Mulan, several things. So I kind of hope they'll wait. I think we can all wait a little bit longer. I mean, we'll have to see how long this really goes. But I think it would be great if they could hold off and wait and let us go to the movie theater. But I think Mulan is one of the highest budgeting movies I think it's the largest budget for a live action movie of these remakes, at least. So I would imagine they would really want to wait.
I'm thinking we're going to see probably a combination, like big budget, something like that, where the box office is going to be super critical and they have the ability to push back. Maybe it was going to release a little bit later. I imagine they would probably push it or feel it out. Other things that are going to be probably smaller, which I could see them maybe just releasing to demand and doing that for a period of
much quicker
on demand. Yeah.
I mean, like we saw with Frozen 2. We got the Frozen 2 gift last weekend.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Frozen 2 specifically. We got some social distancing quarantine edition Why I Love Disney podcast coming up for you. But they dropped Frozen 2 early. They're dropping Onward early. Rise of Skywalker or moving everything kind of out a little sooner, a little earlier. I think those are smart moves, and I think you'll see that time frame shorten for certain. I know other movie companies, like I believe even Trolls, World Tour, I think it's called. Is that Universal? Are there a lot of their theatrical releases are going to go straight to on demand? And that's an interesting. I think there's different. Might depend on the movie and the company, and kind of everybody has different risk factors and things they can do and not do. But it's an interesting time for sure to see what's going to happen. But regardless, they're going to take a hit. They're taking a big hit in the movie side of things too. But then we were just talking. Thankfully, Disney Plus exists, whereas a year ago it did not. And this came out right before Christmas. You just think about. Disney's probably just thanking the good Lord above that they had this release, when it did, as opposed to not having it ready, as some sort of a hedge. It's not going to absorb the blow, but man, it's definitely a nice thing to have. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I was watching stocks today, which the market's been getting tanked, but the ones that are up, it's Netflix, it's Spotify.
All those stay-at-home services.
All the stay-at-home services are seeing an increase in stock price today. Disney's not in there because they're hedged. You know what I'm saying? Disney's been, matter of fact, I'm looking hard at, this stock is, I think, down like 50% right now. Just looking at some interesting numbers as the market has tanked, Disney and Apple and some of the bigger companies that are out there just taking huge hits day after day. I don't know what a good investment is at this point because who knows what the numbers are going to be, but definitely uncharted territory there. But interesting things, new things coming. Disney news. I did see their golf courses are still open. What do you think about that?
Well, at least it's out in the open and something you usually only play with 2 or 3, 4 people. So it's, I guess it's keeping the minimal under 10 people. And
of all the things I think that you could keep open, golf courses seem like, I don't know if I would, I might ban
like
the carts.
500 people on the golf course. It might not be the best thing.
That's true, but they're well spread out. Make them walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then keep them out of the carts. I don't know. I could see golf courses maybe making it, but they're definitely still open.
One thing I think we talk about things we love about Disney. I do love that Disney content is uplifting. So in a time like this, it's just lots of great things to go watch, and it's uplifting. That's why one of the reasons I do love it so much is that it's an encouragement. It's great stories about people coming together and doing things, and it's one of the reasons.
What a great option for all these people that are staying home with their families. To gather around TV, watch a great Disney movie with the kids, which
we've been doing big time.
And even the, it's been fun even watching the different vlogs and things that I watch and different people that I read Disney news from, watching people adapt and encourage one another. And, things we can do from home. There are people that the vloggers that really report on the parks that are having to do different things because there's no park to go report on. So, it's fun to watch people be resilient and make the best of things. And I was thinking a lot about, things that people had to do in World War II, which was before all of our times and my grandparents' time. But the way things were rationed and the things people had to give up and the sacrifices people made for the betterment of everybody kind of reminds me of that. That's what this to me was like. No, this is like us pulling, and we've really not had to do that in 60, 70 years like this, where it's like, no, this is unprecedented, like World War II, where we're going to have to give up sugar. We're going to have to give up some things. An extra pack of toilet paper. We're going to have to give up something and pull together.
Absolutely.
Just like our ancestors did.
So what have you been watching on Disney Plus? I know we're going to be talking about some of these things on future podcasts, but
I've been trying to keep up with your family because you guys took off. I'm still working on my year of Disney.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's slowly but surely. I had a huge project, even though I'm working from home. I have a huge project for work.
Yeah,
that's really taken a lot of time. So I haven't had as much time, and I'm trying to keep up with what you're watching. But I've been watching a lot. I'm still working through a lot of the Mickey Mouse Silly Symphony shorts, working my way through the 1930s. Way more Mickey Mouse videos and Silly Symphony videos than I ever imagined when I started this. A lot of videos, a lot of shorts, and working my way through those. And but we've had several movie nights with the family. This week we just did a Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker marathon night. We watched those two back to back.
What'd you think? We'll talk about. You loved it. Good.
Yeah, I loved it.
Cool.
Yeah, I like the last one.
You hadn't seen
better.
the Rise of Skywalker, had you?
I had not seen the Rise. I missed that's the one I missed. It was all in the Christmas busyness, and I couldn't get there. So yeah, I was glad to finally see that. I liked both of them. I think I liked the last one better than Last Jedi, but they kind of flowed together, so it was good. And yeah, it was Frozen 2. We watched that, and several others. I've watched a lot of the same things you have.
Yeah, so we did. I've been trying to go down the nostalgia Disney train, and we've watched The Parent Trap, the original Haley Mills Parent Trap, Tron 1982. My kids watched Tron Legacy afterwards because they love Tron so much. I'd seen that one before. I didn't watch that with them.
Now, had you seen Tron before?
Oh, it's been many years, but yes, I've seen it, and it actually held. I loved it. I really, honestly, I was surprised how well it held up, because I remember when I was a little kid, I was actually a little bit bored with it, and I remember when I was younger, just feeling Tron was one of the as cool as the story was, just hard to get through for me as a kid, and so I was watching it with my kids thinking, oh, they're going to be but no, it was great. It was fantastic.
Actually, when I watched it again this time, I don't know if we're going to talk about this again later, but it was interesting to hear how much your kids enjoyed it with their ages and being so young. And
the whole idea of being sucked into a video game, that was what? That's awesome.
Before Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. And
this is someone from our world being sucked into it.
Live action. And there are times, I had to pause it and explain to them what was going on.
I wish you'd been there when I was watching it, because there were still several things that I was going, what is that? What just happened?
Right. But Tron, The Parent Trap, like I said, last night we watched the Apple Dumpling Gang, which is such one of my favorites. I love that movie. And then what's the other one I'm blanking on?
Parent Trap. Frozen 2.
Oh, we saw Frozen 2. I had not seen Frozen 2 yet. My kids had, but I had not. So we watched that.
Just watched.
Yeah, Frozen 2, The Parent Trap, Tron, Onward, Apple Dumpling Gang. We saw Onward at the theater a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've seen those. That's where we've done on Disney Plus. I did see something else. So my kids were watching this thing, and I didn't really know what it was. It's from Disney Channel, called Zombie. Have you seen this? It's like a high school musical, just with zombies and cheerleaders. And I found myself strangely interested in this teeny bopper, musical that's just over the top, and the storylines is just crazy. And the music's kind of campy, and and all the goofy kind of preteen ways, right? But I was very kind of addicted to it, and my kids loved it.
Yeah.
And then today they were watching Zombie 2, which is not on Disney Plus. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on demand or on YouTube TV for free, because it's on Disney Channel right now, but not on Disney Plus yet.
I find myself like that with a lot of Disney content. It's clically not towards my age demographic.
You're embarrassed to say.
Yeah, but I still sit there.
I'll tell you, as your kids grow, it's fun because you'll like Disney things just because they like them, that you might not have liked if it was just you. And so we went through that with our kids with Hannah Montana and High School Musical and all that. It becomes a part of your family memory and part of your family connect. And
so, which one did you like so much? Tell us.
What did you watch?
I can't even actually think of the thing. I know there were some shows on Disney, and I have very young sisters, twins, 13 years old, and so they'll watch programs like that. And let me see if I can find an example.
Okay.
That's how
You're
uninvolved I am in
Yeah.
this. I just happen to be in the room while they're watching this stuff,
Yeah.
and we'll binge watch 6-7 episodes of this thing. And the whole time I'm just locked in, having a great time right there next to them. And let's see if I can find something.
Jesse Bunked. Yeah, we've binge watched Bunked quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, was a favorite. Not so much anymore, but there was a season of Bunked in my house. We got a lot to watch. We'll talk about these in future. We might do some like little podcast snippets for you, like a rewatchables kind of thing where we talk about some of these classic Disney movies or some of these things we've watched.
And again, one of the things I love about Disney is that these are things we can all watch together.
Absolutely,
Our whole family.
Yep.
Oh, I can tell you one of them is Bizarrevark. Have you
never
ever
heard
watched
of that.
one?
No.
Yeah.
You recommend it? Should I go home and watch that?
I mean, that's kind of the whole tension of this, what we're talking about, right? It's like, I don't know.
Ramin's pick of the week, Bizarrevark. Check it out, everybody. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah, you're digging up the gems.
That's what I mean. Like,
Is that on now, or is that
is it a current thing? Or is it
know so little about this?
what year is that?
First started in 2016, it looks like.
okay? So we're right on the outside edges of that.
Final episode date, it was saying April 13th of 2019.
Don't they usually run on 3 year?
For a while, it was a 4-year,
4 seasons,
four season cycle.
I think they do that. David explained to me that they get these kid actors and they have like 3 to 4 years before they're too old. They have about 3 years to get their best kid acting out of them before they have to change gears. So, that seems to be pretty true and kind of consistent throughout. So
sometimes they'll take the same cast. Once that period, they'll move them into a new
Spin it
show
off.
where
that was Zach and Cody and
depending on the
Bunked.
kids and depending
Interesting.
on where they are.
Any other ones?
Well, I mean, there's just tons of those shows that you don't really know. They're not super mainstream, but they really resonate with my 13-year-old sisters, and I guess with me too.
But it's because you're getting to enjoy that time with them too.
Yeah,
you might not sit
absolutely.
there and watch it by yourself.
Yeah, no,
But,
yeah, for
But
sure.
it's just fun when you get pulled in.
We should probably wrap it up, man. This is always fun to talk, even under these circumstances. We're thinking of you all and praying for you. Hope you're staying well and staying safe out there. If you'd like to touch base with us, you can do that through our website, whyilovedisney.com, or on Twitter, whyilovedisney1. And we'd love to hear why you love Disney, even in these times. Let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you think of these things we're watching. And until next time, hopefully really, really soon, we're signing off.